Ladies, gentlemen, and creatures, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Headlines with Amr. I am Amr, and this is a show that was recently described by a YouTube user as the news they don't want you to see. And what better feeling could I have than to be pitted opposite they? Because everybody knows that they are the bad guys. So I just want to say thank you to my new friend, Mr. at JPBailey-S3Y. I appreciate your viewership. We're going to get started with a little story out of Kansas, where a young boy was home with his babysitter. He grabbed her to let her know that a monster was under his bed. Like any other God-fearing guardian tasked with the care of a child, this woman went straight to his room, opened up his sheet or whatever is under his bed, and pointed and said, "See? There's a 27-year-old man under here?" Yes, that's right. A 27-year-old man was under this kid's bed. The kid thought it was a monster. It was a man. The article goes on to share some information about just who this man is. They tell us that he had violated an abuse order. He once lived in the home. That there was a struggle between him and the babysitter after she found him that resulted in the child being knocked to the ground, and that he wasn't caught until the next day in a foot chase. Official criminal lingo. This was weird to me. Like, why aren't you guys you know who this is, obviously. You know the specifics, but you don't want to tell us. You don't want to tell us, what is the abuse order? What kind of abuse was it? He once lived in the home? How? What was the struggle with the babysitter? I racked my brains thinking, why would somebody leave this information out? And the only thing I could think of was that they really wanted us to think that this was not a human, but rather a monster. And I will say, great work. Sticking with monsters, why don't we take a little trip over to Mongolia, specifically the Gobi Desert, where scientists have put together what remains of the fossils of the dinosaur, the weird Mongolian dinosaur that wielded big, sharp, and nasty claws. That's right, people. This creature was supposedly, allegedly, purportedly real. And I was just, while I found all of this funny and comical and great headline and great photo and great story, another part of me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't love, flat earthers and people who think that Joe Biden didn't win the 2020 election. But this doesn't seem real. This sounds like it was described by some 4-year-old kid and somebody was drawing it. In fact, the article goes on to tell us that this creature, the Dionychus, was a member of the Therizinosaurus. Like, you just took dinosaur and swapped the D for a Z? Like, I don't think so. I think this is just a combination of Where the Wild Things Are and Harry Potter. In keeping with our subhuman creature theme, I want to close today's broadcast program with a story out of CNN about, let me just read you the headlines. From chiseled six-packs to sharp cheekbones, prosthetics are on the rise in fashion. Yes, that's right. At a recent fashion show in Paris, a Dutch designer showcased 2 models with fake body parts. The first one was, as the writer of this article describes, a woman wearing a chiseled six-pack. Then came what this person calls the buxom climax, when an emerging male model wore a pair of big, bouncing breasts. My question, why censor it? Like, why don't you want us to see this? We look at mannequins. Like, are you admitting that someone could be turned on by this? Because then we have to have a larger conversation about, which we don't have time for today. People, let's say that the message boards, is that an archaic term, were alight. Because people were wondering, like, what is this? Why did they do this? Were they championing gender fluidity, or were they ridiculing femininity? Well, why don't we check in with the man himself who did this, who said, "I love the idea of women as action figures." I think that's our answer right there. But really, this is part of a larger trend where, fashion models aren't just showing us the latest in clothes anymore. They're showing us the latest in bodies. Interesting stuff. One thing that I found concerning, though, was that a lot of these models are sporting what we could say are increasingly ubiquitous beauty standards. So a lot of the female models are pouty lips, accentuated cheekbones, which, I don't know, I found a little concerning, especially when the quote was, "Why stop at styling clothes when you can style bodies?" But then again, emerging designer Zhongzi Ding, which you'll see why ding was the operative word, recently created a pair of jeans with a built-in penis complete with a workable urethra made from sponge. So what do I know? That's all for this week. Thank you all for watching. I hope everyone just has the best weekend ever, and I will see ya next week.